Imagine surrendering an entire kingdom in less time than it takes to brew a pot of coffee. On August 2, 1830, history recorded just such a moment when Louis XIX of France became the shortest reigning monarch ever known. France was in upheaval. The July Revolution had pushed the country to the brink, and outside the palace the air was thick with smoke, anger, and the sound of a people demanding change. Inside, the old order was collapsing in real time. At a desk sat King Charles X, pen trembling in his hand. The pressure from the streets had become impossible to ignore. With a final stroke of the quill, he signed his abdication, ending his reign and conceding defeat to the revolution. But succession followed its own unforgiving logic. The instant Charles signed, the crown passed, at least on paper, to his son, Louis Antoine. In that moment, he became Louis XIX, King of France and Navarre. It was a crown he never wanted. Louis XIX looked at the document, then at the chaos beyond the palace walls, and finally at his father. For 20 minutes, the title was his. For 20 minutes, he was sovereign. For 20 minutes, the weight of centuries of monarchy rested on his shoulders. Then, under intense pressure and fearing for his life, he picked up the pen. He signed away the crown, renouncing his claim in favor of his nephew. His reign, barely longer than a conversation, entered the record books at roughly 20 minutes. He understood the tradition. He understood the danger. And he understood that an era had ended. This strange intersection of law and mortality was not unique. Nearly 80 years later, in 1908, Portugal experienced a similarly grim technicality. In the streets of Lisbon, assassins struck down King Carlos I and his heir, Luís Felipe. The king died instantly. By law, the crown passed at once to his son. Luís Felipe, however, had been mortally wounded. Though unconscious and dying, his heart continued to beat for about 20 minutes after his father's death. In that brief and terrible interval, he was technically the King of Portugal. These moments reveal how fragile power truly is. Men spend lifetimes striving for thrones that can be lost before ink dries or a heartbeat fades. History is shaped not only by those who rule for decades, but also by those who hold a crown for minutes. Their stories remind us that no authority, no matter how ancient or revered, is ever permanent. In the end, two men, separated by time and distance, proved the same truth: a crown can be unbearably heavy, even when worn for less than half an hour.